Yeah, well, we should get going. Actually, you know what? It's actually 5 minutes of.
Okay.
You started early.
Well, great.
So yeah, I mean, I just saw the email that said it started. The Blab session has started already, but my clock is saying 5 minutes of 4.
Yeah, mine does as well.
Yeah.
Early is on time. Right?
Pardon?
Early is on time.
Well, I had a manager that said, yes, early is important. Starting on time is important.
Right.
And he says, well, I won't say that here. 15 minutes late is
late. So Victor, as I said, we have 78 people participating in our conversation. I see them sort of blogging. You can see the number on the top of your screen as who's
I see that.
Participating. So how about I'll just kick it off, and then when Tehsuan joins us, we'll let him in, and we'll continue our conversation.
Very well.
Sounds good.
So as you all know, and I'm doing this little preamble for our audience. I'm Lyneir Richardson, and I'm the executive director of the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship and Economic Development at Rutgers Business School, and I am a member of the faculty here. I guess it's been a year ago now. We got the benefit of receiving a $100,000 grant from Chancellor Cantor's office to launch a program we call the Newark Business Hub. And the purpose of the Newark Business Hub is to elevate media, art, and entertainment industry entrepreneurs. We're doing that in really 3 ways. We have a fellowship program that's been launched where 22 media and art entrepreneurs and entertainment industry entrepreneurs come to the business school every other Wednesday for 4.5 hours of business training, capacity building, collaboration exercises, and get exposure to accountants and coaching and strategic planning experts. And so we're really excited about that. We have some really cool people in this session. I saw a few of them even on the side of our listening in on our conversation today. 2, we're doing these things like Blab sessions. We have our first public lecture next Tuesday, and a lot of social events as well, because, you do business with people you like, and we're hoping to bring more people, opening up our community and bringing more people in to do business and to participate in the economic development progress that's happening in the city. And then finally, we are, working with a team of community entrepreneurs on a business plan to incubate, to create a social and business incubation center here in Newark. They call it a Global Impact Hub. What we are talking about today is the exciting part of our program, which is Express Newark, and our goal of helping and facilitating access to the resources and space that will be in Express Newark, helping our entrepreneurial community and our business community to find, opportunities to use the resource in the space. So that's the backdrop. Welcome, Tehsuan, to the conversation.
Hello. And
Victor said, don't call you Starsky. So that was my introduction. Starsky, Tehsuan, you're our co-host. Why don't you do an introduction of yourself, and then we'll let Ann and Victor introduce, and we'll get into our conversation.
Sure. So my mother named me Tehsuan Glover. My close friend is named me Starsky. I am the publisher of the Newark Times, and NewarkTimes.com. I am brand ambassador for Gentleman Culture and GentlemanCulture.com. And I am the managing partner of Studio Creative Group. Starsky is a poet and spoken word artist, and I've had the pleasure of performing at Aljira a few times, and it seems like Victor was pleased, so I'm happy about that.
Very good. Very good. Ann? You want to tell your story a little bit?
Sure. So I'm a faculty member at Rutgers University-Newark in the Arts, Culture, and Media program. My background's in architecture, and I am teaching architectural history and also some interdisciplinary classes in the Arts, Culture, Media department. And I've been tasked to co-chair Express Newark with my esteemed colleague, Victor Davson. And Express Newark is an initiative that grew out of the Arts, Culture, and Media department, but is branching across to other areas of the university, such as the business school. And it's a community, university, interdisciplinary space of learning. So it's going to be housed in the Hahnes and Company department store building that's currently under renovation. That building's going to contain all kinds of other entities, such as Whole Foods, as many people have heard. It's going to have apartments. And Rutgers is leasing about a tenth of the space for this interdisciplinary learning space that we're calling Express Newark. And it's a project that we're trying to engage the community in creating. So there's all kinds of different aspects to it. We've built space that's going to be appropriate for video, some space for our Jazz Institute, journalism, poetry, 3D printing, graphic design. There's art gallery space. And, we're going to be engaging in education and, some entertainment, and we want to also encourage entrepreneurship. So the programming is still very open, and that's what we're looking to the community to really contribute ideas, wishes, concepts, what have you, to formulate that.
Very good, very good. Victor, 30 years ago? Long time ago?
A very long time ago, 30 years. Actually, it was more like 32 years ago. But,
right.
But officially, we say 30 years. So 30 years ago, we started out as a young group of artists looking for inexpensive workspace in the Roseville section of Newark, around 5th Street and Roseville Avenue, Orange Street area. And I had the chutzpah to take on the management and administration of Aljira, registered it as a nonprofit, and here we are 30 years later. That was a steep climb because I spent a lot of in the sense that my practice as an artist, in many ways, it was a balancing act to maintain my practice as an artist and also to run a non-for-profit. As anyone who tries to do that will discover that that's quite demanding. And at one point, I also went back to school at NYU, but that's another story, to do graduate work in arts administration. I really think of Aljira as a lab, and I've had the good fortune of having a lot of exposure. For instance, I went through the museum management program that is run by the Getty, the national program, and a quite rigorous boot camp in museum management. I mean, you're kind of cloistered for a month or so, where you only have one day off, and that's Sunday, and then you've got tons of reading to do. You've got to work with your colleagues who are there, most of them from large institutions who wanted to know what was I doing there. So that pretty much prepared me for keeping Aljira going. In fact, one of my mentors from the Manchester Craftsman Guild, Bill Strickland, said to me, the size of the institution never matters, or the numbers behind your budget never matter. The core principles for management and operations always remain the same. if there's certain principles about management and operating an organization, and so I've kind of stuck to that. I am thrilled to be working with my colleague, my esteemed colleague, my most esteemed colleague, and Shopper Englot.
Yes.
Give
her a new middle name.
It's been a great pleasure. It's been a great pleasure working with her. I had a paper commissioned by Nancy Englot. I did a paper for Nancy Englot. Basically,
Miss Cantor?
Not Nancy, yes, Miss Cantor. Nancy Cantor, sorry. Basically giving my sense of the lay of the land when it came to arts and culture and small to mid-sized organizations in Newark. And now on the tail end of that, I'm working with Anne to operationalize Express Newark in the Hahnes building. This is fun stuff. I enjoy doing this. It's demanding, it's challenging, but I think what would life be without challenges?
So let's jump into it. This is a big vision. I think a lot of people have aspirations for what Express Newark will be. Give me your view of what Express Newark might be, 2 years from now, if your best case scenario happens.
Well, who's that addressed to?
To Victor. We'll start. Victor will go to Ann.
Yeah.
We'll go to Tehsuan as well.
Well, 2 years from now, first of all, I want to start off by saying that Express Newark is not an event. It's a process. It's something that will evolve. It's something that we need to think in terms of something that develops over, in my mind, 3 to 5 year period. So in 2 years, my sense is that Express Newark will just be heating up. It'll still be heating up. It won't be fully formed. I don't think it should ever be fully formed, but my sense is that we would have started to straighten out some of the wrinkles. It would have been in operation for 24 months. We would see some of the elements of it up and running, the galleries, some of the workshops. We would start to see events. We would start to see a lot of activity on Broad Street and on Halsey Street. There would be classes. Rutgers students would be part of that kind of synergy. And I imagine we would really see a lot of vitality around Express Newark and a lot of interaction between the community, and I mean the community in the broadest sense, and I mean indigenous community and also the academic community.
Yes. And what would you add to that? I know
I've lost the visual on Anne. There's some technical problems here, and also on Tehsuan. I think we've lost, and I've lost you too, by the way.
Oh no.
Okay, let me see. I can see everybody.
I can.
But I can't see you. I can't see you, and I can't see Anne. And I can't see Tehsuan.
Okay.
I can see myself.
Hopefully you'll come back because I can see everybody.
Okay.
And how about you? Can you see everyone?
I can see everyone right now.
Great. So, Ann, what would you add to Victor? So, and first of all, let me clarify. Express Newark, the timeline, it opens next year. So give me opening day, your view, Ann, and then give me your, Victor just said it's not an event, it's a process. So give me your 3 to 5 year evolution vision.
So in one of the meetings that we've had, somebody said that we'll have been a success in creating this if the folks from the university kind of disappear and the faces we see are the faces of the community. I think, it'll be a success in my mind if it's being used, and it's of use to a lot of people. And there's people coming in from kindergartners to senior citizens, whoever, whatever's going on, whatever interests somebody, that they're able to take advantage of that program or that class or attend that event. And then it really becomes a place where people come to gather, and where the kind of strict lines between university and community get really blurred, and we all take ownership and profit from this place.
Very good. Tehsuan, you got a view? A year from now, 3 years?
I got one. I think in best case scenario, wildest dreams come true, I think Express Newark has the potential to really sit at the heart of Newark, owning its own story, telling its own story, crafting its own story, sharing Newark's perspective of the world with everyone, and the cross cultures that go on. I think Express Newark has the potential to really sit at the epicenter of all of that. I think that's something that Newark has sorely missed for a while, for years and years now. Telling its own story and being the leading voice of that story. A lot of the story gets told by people who are not either from Newark or, and when I say people not from Newark, I mean largely media outside of Newark. And the best case scenario is it's media that doesn't have Newark's best interest at heart. So I think that Express Newark has a very incredibly profound potential to shift storytelling of Newark to, number one, come from Newark, and number two, have Newark's best interests at heart and be the loudest voice on the subject.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's across, media and journalism and art and, all these wonderful different disciplines, that's a compelling but composite story. It's a robust story, but it talks about it in different languages and dialects to the globe.
Yeah, Kimberly Williams and Jeff Billings, I like how they talk about it. They talk about changing the narrative. Mm-hmm. And, this has an opportunity to be a place where the narrative gets changed.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And what's your sense of this whole question about how will Express Newark, be a part of economic development and create jobs and create wealth? I mean, do you have a vision of that? And I guess at the same time, are we putting too much sort of hope and aspiration on this? Is there any fear of that we're expecting Express Newark to be all things to all people?
You mean how
do you manage that?
Well, I think that would be fulfilling our dream if it could be that. But, I think we can't, it won't be all things to all people. It's got to, it'll hopefully, though, kind of fulfill a niche. It'll be part of our arts ecosystem, and it'll work to do some of the things that Tehsuan's talking about changing the narrative, about allowing the people of Newark to control that narrative and tell the positive stories that have meaning and that resonate with their lives. The arts do play a part in economic development. I think they play an important part. And in this district of the city, the kind of area of downtown that belongs to all of the wards in a sense, where we, kind of belongs to all of us because it's where all of us come to take advantage of the arts at NJPAC or go to the Newark Museum or go to Aljira, enjoy Military Park and the festivals and things that are going on there now. I think that, we want to play a part in that ecosystem. And we don't want to duplicate what others are doing. We want to, help raise that up, fulfill a niche.
Hey, Victor, we said some words this morning. We said education in the Express Newark, entertainment, enlightenment, entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Those words resonate with you, Victor and Tehsuan?
I think all of those words apply um, to. I mean, I want to think of this as the sort of culture, the sort of economy. If you want to think in terms of all of that being part of a kind of the sort of cultural economy. And if you think of the cultural economy uh, as a system, as something that educates, that also creates jobs, that generates product that people buy and use and consume, the cultural economy, part of what I imagine Express Newark as is at the center of this sort of one of the drivers of this sort of cultural economy.
I like that.
Um,
Driver of
um,
cultural economy.
Pardon me?
I like that. Driver of cultural economy.
Yes, and what that implies is that it implies that there's an opportunity, uh, for people to there's an entry point where people can get training. There's a way that people can be mentored. There's a way that, and I'm thinking about non-traditional groups. People can learn. In fact, one of the things about the cultural economy is that people get promoted in cultural institutions, not necessarily based on their academic accomplishments, but based on experience, based on mentorship. So people could come in, learn to do things, and they can develop skills they don't have. They can, they can be promoted in these institutions. They can, I always think of Aljira as a feeder institution. A feeder institution. I mean, many of the people who come to Aljira come straight out of school. They learn their skill, whether they come in as a development person, or they come in as an administrative assistant, or they come in as a marketing person. They come in, and in 3 to 5 years, I mean, this is a number that I got from the Nathan Cummings Foundation when I was very anxious about people. As soon as people start to show a level of competence, they're ready to go. So I'm comfortable with that now because I understand that that's where we are in this ecosystem. We are feeder. People are ready to go to NJ and to be, and to work in their development department, or they're ready to go to the Newark Museum, and that has happened at Aljira, and they're ready to start a family. So Aljira can't support all of that, and we're not trying to become NJ We're not trying to become the Newark Museum. Aljira is what it is. It's a small to mid-sized group. The budget at its height was about 1.2 million, and at the height of the organization's development. And so that's what it is. It's a feeder institution within this system, and it helps to ready people for careers. Now, imagine having a center like Express Newark, doing that many times over, creating not only jobs for people but creating consumers, bringing networking into Newark's community on a horizontal basis. I keep talking about this idea of the horizontal and the vertical. A lot of the partners that projects and departments, a lot of the partnerships that are being developed now, whether it's with the Newark Print Shop, or whether it's with a Pharaoh, or whatever partnerships with community groups that are being developed, there are opportunities there for connecting with a broad cross section of the community.
Yes.
The university, for the first time, sort of fulfilling its public mission, getting out into the community, and doing what? Pulling people in.
Yes.
You also have this relationship that the community, that the university has, that is vertical. This relationship that it has with money, with power, with politics. So you've got the intersection of this horizontal and vertical axis, and creating this kind of vital, energetic, cultural, economic environment. I think we can ask for more. I mean, I just think that, but we have to manage expectations. Again, I go back to what I said initially. It's a process.
Right.
We're not going to see that in year one.
Right.
We're going to probably start seeing some of those outcomes in 3 to 5 years.
Got it. Tehsuan, you had a few questions?
Well, yeah, I do want to trail on that point about the education, entertainment, enlightenment, and entrepreneurship. And the two that rung out to me most of those four were enlightenment and entrepreneurship. And enlightenment, particularly as it relates to people learning their own power, their own capacity. As artists and creatives, as community stakeholders, as entrepreneurs and business people, being enlightened not only on what's available, but what our place in this whole world is, in this economy, in this creative space, in this city, and what our role could be years to come. I think we're at a fantastic time in the city right now, as far as the amount of activity that's going on in the city, the amount of things that are going on in the city, and that they keep coming and they keep getting bigger and bigger and larger, and there's more and more of it. So that level of enlightenment, I think, is incredible. And I definitely see that here with Express Newark. I particularly also see entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship.
Well, hold on one second before you go to entrepreneurship, because I want to come back to that.
Okay.
And the enlightenment piece, some of the initial things that are programmed in terms of the portrait studio and Newest Americans. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, to Sean's enlightenment point?
Sure, absolutely. Well, the portrait studio is an initiative by our photography professor, Nick Klein. And he's been collaborating with Akintola Hanif, who publishes Highside magazine, for a number of years, working together, co-teaching a class and bringing their photography students into the community and taking pictures of people in the community who might not normally, get a beautiful professional photograph of themselves created. Last year, they had an opening at the Newark Museum when they launched the Newark issue of the magazine, and everybody who was photographed in the magazine was invited. The community was invited. It was a great party for the community to celebrate themselves. So I think Nick,
poetry, what's the poetry part of it as well?
Poetry. Van Jordan, who's an incredible, really talented poet. He's read many times at the Dodge Poetry Festival, and he's now a professor here at Rutgers University-Newark in our MFA in writing program. And he's going to be working with the Writers at Newark project that goes into the high schools and works with young people to develop their poetry skills, and they have poetry readings, and they also bring well-known writers to Newark to give public readings of their work, and take questions from the students and the community as well.
Yeah, well, that's good.
I wanted to just make a point about this portrait studio, if that's okay.
Sure.
Portrait studio, I think. The portrait studio, historically, it ties into a very important a part of the, I think, both the collaborators, the practice, their practice. Historically, it also has something to do with the Black community. I think I read somewhere there was a portrait studio in the in the Haynes building, that was used a lot by community residents. You know, is the place where you can go with your family
Yes.
and have a formal picture taking place. In fact, I want to tie it to a very important African American photographer, James Van Der Zee in Harlem.
Yeah.
James Van Der Zee is noted for taking some very iconic pictures of major historic people, personalities in the Black community. And he himself is considered very, very important to the history of Black photography. And
Yeah.
apparently, James Van Der Zee had had his first job in the Haynes building. This is an important piece historically.
No, absolutely.
This also ties into Tehsuan's idea about, or actually the idea of Newark creating its own narrative. Malcolm X always had his photographer following him around. The idea of participating in constructing your own image is an important issue. If you look at photographs that are taken, official photographs that are taken out for passports, or official photographs that are taken for the post office, or by that are taken out, you know, for institutional purposes.
Right.
That's one kind of photograph. That's one kind of construction.
So now I know why Tehsuan has a photographer following him around all the time.
But I think it's an important departure when people are participating in their own sense of who they are. Deb Willis from NYU, I think she's the head of the School of Photography and Imaging at NYU. I mean, she's written several books on this whole thing of photography and the construction of identity or images or image. I think one can, in other words, you can strike your own pose.
Right.
You can construct an image that you find flattering, or an image of dignity that you feel represents you and your family. So I think the Portrait Studio has particular cultural and historical importance in this conversation.
That's good. Good point.
Yeah, and also it's going to be interesting to see how it works in Newark.
No, that's good comment. Tehsuan, going to your next point, you mentioned entrepreneurship.
Entrepreneurship. I mean, you know, enlightenment lets you know that you are capable. Entrepreneurship actually puts you to work and gets you active. You know, and I think that there are a long list of incredibly talented, incredibly sharp, incredibly passionate entrepreneurs in Newark across, you know, industry and discipline and whatnot. And the fact that there's a place that's continually nurturing that at different, you know, scales and across different disciplines, I think that's something I'm particularly excited to see with Express Newark. You know, you can only do what you know, but if there's a place that shows you the world of what you know, and then shows you all the things that you don't know that are in that world. You know what I mean? I might know how to blog, but I don't know what all I could be doing with my blog. And if I think of my blog as just my little diary on the internet, then I might not look to the capacity of, you know, how much of an entrepreneur could I be in this thing, or is it just a hobby that's taking up my time? I mean, those things that Express Newark is going to show entrepreneurs and different people throughout the community helps to see, you know, how far can I go with the thing that I love, that I really, if I'm, you know, wasn't getting paid, I'd still be spending my time doing it. So how could I spend my time and somebody else spend their money on me? You know what I mean? Or on this business, you know? I think there's a question was raised by the online community here is, you know, to the point specifically of how would Express Newark help to create jobs, and that's something I'm also interested in, and I wonder if that's something that Ann, if you want to talk particularly to that point.
Well, I mean, I think the intersection with entrepreneurship is really vital to emphasize. And the entrepreneurs, the artists are all part of the creative class. And the creative class of people are the people that we want to build up, we want to encourage, and we want to support in the city, because these are the people that are going to help grow the city. I think in whatever way it can, whether it's from a workshop to a micro course or to a course for college credit. These are the kinds of things that we're going to start developing in Express Newark. Some things are, some college courses are already existing and part of the curriculum, but then how do we open up and maybe package those classes in ways that are easier for people to consume, to get the different parts of knowledge that pertain to their lives.
Absolutely. That is what Anne is referring to, is at the core of what Express Newark is about, access, and in terms of classes, find ways of teaching that are appropriate for where people are coming from their background. I mean, access. We're talking about, and that's part of a broader continuum: access, equity, the ability of people to go as far as they could on their own talents and their own initiative, their own talents and initiative. So I think what we want to see is in Express Newark is the kind of leveling of level playing field where people, regardless of your background, regardless of your race, regardless of your ethnicity, religion, regardless of your gender or choice, that you have access, that you have the opportunity for equity, the opportunity to participate in a dialogue that is not top to bottom.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see. That's what we want to see.
So we went to enlightenment and entrepreneurship, but I want to talk about some of the fun stuff there as well. I mean, will we get a chance to see Starsky perform some poetry there? Will there be events? How will we interact with? Will there be performances there? What's your vision of that, Anne or Victor?
Oh, absolutely. I think, that's what we're looking for, ideas outside of ourselves. I mean, Victor and I might have our own ideas about what we'd like to see happen, but I think it's going to be most meaningful if it's, if Starsky wants to, have a poetry performance, then, that's what happens. If Lyneir wants to, deliver a entrepreneurship course to high school students, or that's what happens. That we're looking for the community to help us program what goes on there.
Yes,
I think what Victor said in terms of access, inclusion. I think equity is another one of our principles. We're also trying to participate in the pipeline from high schools into college education, and really ease that for be part of the network that's creating an easier path for Newark students to come to higher education. We're in dialogue with the Newark City of Learning Collaborative folks, and with our new Honors Living Learning community that's developing, that's going to have a focus on Newark students coming to Rutgers University-Newark and getting the support they need in order to attain their college degree.
Yeah. Speaking to entrepreneurship and as well as speaking to entertainment, for number one, I most definitely will be performing in Express Newark. And I think one thing that will help that very much is there's a large check over your shoulder, Lyneir, and I don't know what the number is on that check, but whatever that is would help me out, that would enlighten me, that would entertain me, and that would definitely help me out in entrepreneurship. But seriously, I think that there's always a presumption among the community that when something new comes in, it's not for us. And I'm really, I'm pleased to hear so much how aggressively Express Newark wants the community to come in, to help with programming, to contribute to what Express Newark will become. And I just said that it's going to become over time.
Can I interrupt you, Tehsuan? Can I interrupt you?
Of course you can.
I want to correct that, because what Express Newark is attempting to do is to create a third space. It's not that the community is coming in to get something. Express Newark is neither the community or Rutgers University-Newark. It's a combination of both. It's an entity unto itself. Mm-hmm. So Express Newark cannot exist without the community. So there's a kind of conjoining. There's a kind of pairing of community initiatives, community interests, connecting with the public mission of Rutgers University-Newark. Mm-hmm. So I want us to sort of think of this not as a hierarchical thing. The university giving the community something. No. There's a kind of reciprocity. There's a kind of it's neither the university or the community, but it's the combination of both.
Right.
I mean, we need to let that idea simmer. But I want it's the idea of a third space.
My question, Victor, was going to be, how does that get implemented? How does that become tangible? What does it mean for the community to be involved? Tehsuan, what do people want when you talk to them?
Well, I for instance function as it's as Anne and I function as a kind of tag team, with Anne representing the university, Rutgers Newark, and I function in many ways. I'd like to say that I'm at the table to make sure that whatever decisions that are being made, that the community is represented, that there's a kind of awareness that whatever decisions are made should also serve the best interest within the context of Express Newark. Should always serve the best interest of the community. Aljira is essentially a long-standing community-based arts organization. Mm-hmm. We try to do projects that connect with interests that are important to the community. Mm-hmm. We're not everything to all people, but we have a niche. So the way it works is that the community is part of the conversation at every level. That is part of the decision-making process. That Rutgers Newark is forced to, by my presence there and by the presence of other people from the community at different levels, to be mindful, to be thoughtful, to consider that it's not just in Newark, but it's of Newark. And this is part of the vision of the chancellor. This is part of the vision of Nancy Cantor to break down the sense that that Rutgers Newark exists in a silo.
Right.
That it's got to engage, and this is what we're attempting to do. It's not easy. It's not easy. It's not easy because it's coming out of a tradition which is diametrically opposite. It's coming out of so it's a process. It's a process of getting. We're making baby steps. We're working all the time in terms of the language we use, in terms of how we make decisions. I mean, it's not something that's going to happen again. I keep saying that there's this window that we are, we're working with, the 3 to 5 year window. We're working with this.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And you want to add to that? Any thoughts on that topic as well? Community engagement, what it means, how you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, individuals in the community have relationships with individuals at the university. And I think that this has been going on, forever, that there's been really good relationships between individuals, an individual professor, or our Paul Robeson Gallery, for instance, employs many artists in the community as teaching artists or as curators. So Gladys Grauer, one of the longest standing artists in Newark, is curating a show currently that's on display in the Paul Robeson Center, and has a great ongoing relationship with our curator Ananda Bell. But what we're trying to, I think what Chancellor Cantor wants to do, and what we're hoping Express Newark will do, will be to, not just have individuals connected to individuals, but really connect the whole institution to the city. So
very good.
It's kind of a larger vision of how the university exists. It's not just in the city, but it's of the city.
Got it. No, very good.
Right. And I think that's something that is that's a weight that Express Newark will definitely have to carry, having the wish or having the agenda to engage the community genuinely. The truth of the matter is there is a large segment of the community who don't genuinely believe that they are at the table or that they have the ear of the institutions, whether they be cultural institutions or academia or what have you. So it's one thing to say we want to address the community, but if the community doesn't believe that, then the community won't reciprocate, the community won't respond, and the community won't engage. And
what's the definition of community in your mind when you say that? Who are we talking about? How do we put our arms around that?
In my very humble opinion, the community means everybody. So there is no category, there is no segment, or there is no grouping within community. Community is everybody.
So how do we, I guess the reason why I asked that question is, how do we make sure that we're doing all that we can to both communicate with the community, to make whatever opportunity is available here known? How do we do that from your vantage point, being, based on the conversations you had?
Yeah, part of it is in, to what Victor said earlier, is in the communication and what language is used in engaging the community. Another part of it is in technology. You know what I mean? If the same channels and platforms are used today that were used 15 years ago, then you're going to lose out on a lot of people actually getting the message. The fact of the matter is, there are people who are coming from all over the world to live in Newark. There are people of a wide range of ages that live in Newark, and of a wide range of backgrounds, and a wide range of communication styles. So first thing to do is to learn, how does everyone communicate? If the decision to communicate is made before learning how everyone communicates is done, then you absolutely miss a large portion. So I think that's the first step. How does everybody communicate?
Yep. No, that's
Well,
go ahead, Victor.
yeah, well, I would like to say, Tehsuan, that I am in agreement with you about um, the skepticism, um, or rather, I would say justified skepticism, not all, of a segment in the community.
Right.
And that will, because, as I said, there was a paper that I prepared. I think it was probably 24 pages that I prepared. It was commissioned by Nancy Cantor. Um, and one of the things that, we've got this legacy, and this legacy dates back to the rebellion. Um, and, part of changing in the narrative um, is really about getting past this kind of a doubt. And as I said, it's justifiable. It's justified in the sense that people, have not been brought into the conversation. The point that you raised about people coming from all over the world now to Newark, and people moving in. I mean, part of the urgency of Express Newark to make sure that whatever is taking place in terms of the word gentrification has come up a lot, and to make sure that people have been here all along. I mean, that's been part of the dialogue. I mean, we've had conversations with artists like Kevin Sampson. We've had conversations with people like Jerry Gant. We've had conversation. I have, and in fact, we have. I should say, and by that I mean my co-chair Ann Englot and I. We've had conversations with a number of people as we try to get our heads around what can answer this question of what the community wants, what is important to the community as we engage. And I said it's a process. We don't have all the answers, but we've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people who are active and live and work and play in the community to kind of get our heads around what it is that matters. And I do think I beg to disagree with you on one thing, respectfully disagree with you on one thing, that the community is made up of segments. It's got different segments. We know we've got people who are from the creative community. We've got people who are from the LGBT community. We've got people from the Black community, the Portuguese community. So there's a kind of diversity out there. There is a way of segmenting or looking at different groups within the community, and sometimes their interests intersect, and sometimes those interests don't. But I think community is a very broad concept, and so we're struggling with all these things. But Express Newark is going to try to do things that serve the common cause.
So let me ask a question to Ann about faculty and students. I mean, I think part of Express Newark as well is, that Rutgers students will have an opportunity to, work on projects, collaborations with entrepreneurs and with nonprofit organizations, and that the faculty members may sort of interweave that into experiential learning opportunities. Have you talked much about that, Ann?
Absolutely, yeah. That's there are projects in existence that give our students those kinds of opportunities, and there, are some that have yet to be dreamed up. So the Newest Americans, which you mentioned earlier, is a project by one of our faculty members, Tim Raphael, that is documenting. It's an online journal, so you can go to thenewestamericans.com to see the latest issue. The latest issue deals a lot with aspects of the Hahnes building and the Halsey corridor. But they're looking at the newest Americans, so our immigrant communities, and how those folks are making their way into higher education, and many of whom are many first-generation students are in our classrooms, and also migrants, other people that came, like during the Great Migration, for example, that came into the city. So one of the projects that was run through the Newest Americans was a project that Nick Klein did with our great local artist, Adrian Wheeler, looking at using the Kruger-Scott oral history tapes that were created by Kathy Lennox Hooker and a team of citizen oral historians who went out and did interviews with folks that had come from the South during the Great Migration to the city of Newark and asked them about their experience. And then Nick and Adrian worked with students to create art, to create glass books that depicted some aspect of the people's stories who they were listening to that were part of the Kruger-Scott tapes. So there's lots of different...
That's a fantastic project.
Yeah.
Very
fantastic project.
I've been getting, just looking at some of the comments from the folks who are listening and participating about how to communicate. You say, if you look to the site, we've seen everything from billboards to a full-fledged communication campaign, to people are saying we got to make sure mass media, look, I like this comment, from mass media to corner stores to churches,
right,
leveraging all the social media platforms. I mean, I'm very pleased with this session we're having here, even on Blab. It's just an easy way just to communicate. Someone says an actual commercial on TV.
Yeah.
So again, I think we have an opportunity to have some fun communicating the vision and the hope that we all have for Express Newark.
Absolutely. And
how about we got? Go ahead, Ann.
Leveraging the talent of our great Newark artists and entrepreneurs to produce some of that content. And we're hoping that we'll get a story maybe in the Newark Times even.
Yeah. Oh, look, it's hard. That's a tough editor over there, I heard.
I got some pull with him. I think I can put a word in.
Very good. Very good. So look, we're down to sort of our last 5 minutes, and I want to give everyone a chance to make sort of a 1 minute final statement, and then I want you to how do we keep connected? Social media, with Express Newark, with Rutgers, with Newark Times. So how about we'll start with you, Ann? A final statement.
My greatest hope for Express Newark is that we'll be able to leverage the expressive power of the arts to tell Newark's story. I think the arts can be a medium of affirmation of our cultural values and also a way to dialogue between cultures. So I think it's a great tool for us to use to reach some of these goals that we've been talking about today.
Is there an Express or social media?
Not yet. Our design consortium, graphic design students and faculty have been working on branding Express Newark, and so the first part of their project was coming up with a logo. And many of our artists, Kimberly, Jeff, came and contributed to that dialogue around the logo. So once we have that down, they're continuing that work, and we'll be developing other aspects of the brand as we go along. So we're getting there. We're coming soon. Express.
Tehsuan, you want to go next?
Sure. Final word would be that I think it is incredibly important that we here in Newark, particularly, take our position, claim our position, and claim our position in history, claim our position in America, claim our position on the globe. But it's up to us to own a place and not anybody else tell us where we belong, we fit in. And I think that's something that we work toward and pass down to our children and our children's children to continue on. If you're bored, follow me on Twitter at Tehsuan Glover. And if you want to learn something really, you can follow the Newark Times on Twitter.
Victor, we need the comment from the statesman.
Well, I think that it would be appropriate to thank the chancellor.
Is anyone else here in the next, or was it just?
I heard some.
There's a kind of a feedback.
So maybe if you're not talking, you don't mute. I'll mute as well.
You've got some problem? I think we're okay. Yeah. I think what I wanted to do was I think this is a very timely project in Newark history. I mean, about several decades. I think it's good time to
great comments that turn down the volume. That's what people are saying.
The volume? All right. Yeah.
This is your final statement.
I'm excited to be working on this project, and I look forward to working with Aaron. I look forward to working with the Chancellor's office. I think this is a watershed moment. I think this is a great moment for Newark, and I am glad to be part of it.
Hey, social media? You want to social media?
Can you say?
How do we stay connected with you? Do you use social media or just Aljira.com or what's best? Or .org?
Yes. I mean, yeah. I'm not. We don't have. Express Newark doesn't have we don't have a website, or we don't have. We don't have a. I mean, apart from Aljira's website, I mean, we don't really have. We haven't established a way to get in touch with us yet. Is that right, Anne?
That's correct.
Yeah.
But my email is ann.englot@rutgers.edu. That's probably the best way to get in touch with me right now.
Right. And so my email is vdavson@aljira.org.
Very good.
And you can get in touch with me for further questions. But at some point very soon, we'll have a way to connect on social media. I'm sure.
And then just my final comment, thank you all. Thank you to our partners with the Newark Business Hub. Thanks to the Chancellor's Office for our funding. I'm Lyneir Richardson. Our Center for Urban Entrepreneurship is at the Cube on Twitter. We have a whole lot of entrepreneurs who are trying to grow. There's a whole lot of hope and aspiration for Express Newark. And we thank you all for this first event where we've gotten a chance to share some of that enthusiasm and keep hope alive. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.